Hi, welcome to Translating Your Co-Curricular Experiences to the Job Search. My name is Tracy Fryer, and I am the Assistant Director for Spirit and Traditions in Student Activities.
Hello, and my name is Sarah Hozak, and I am the Graduate Assistant for Student Organizations and Student Activities. So we're going to go ahead and get started talking about some transferable skills. So what are transferable skills? First off, we have the soft essential skills, which are the skills that people need for learning, work, and life. Soft skills are the personal attributes, personality traits, the inherent social cues and communication abilities needed for a successful job. So these are things that you can learn from all sorts of different situations and positions. Essentially, they are your soft skills, those skills developed in one situation, which can be transferred to another situation. So these can be learned in everyday life and all sorts of different opportunities and leadership positions. You also have versatile skills, which you can make use of in a number of different roles. So they're versatile. You can use them from one position to the other. And then functional abilities that are required in many different problem solving and task oriented situations. So these are things that are going to help you, solve problems and think on your feet. So those are really important abilities to have. And then interdisciplinary abilities. These involve many areas of human development, so cognitive, social, moral, etc., things like that. That has a lot more to do with just a connection with a human. Acquired from a number of different places. Acquired transferable skills can come from work, class, student organizations, leadership roles, volunteering, really any experience that you have while at UNT, you can use those skills and you can acquire a whole list of them. So they're really helpful to have while you're looking for post-grad jobs and things like that. So on the screen, you see a word cloud of some transferable skills that we had some students think up. And so you see teamwork, leadership, organization, problem solving, stress management, time management, communication, and lots of others. So these are skills that a group of students thought were transferable skills, and they all are. So you can learn them from a number of different situations, and they can be helpful in a number of different jobs. So those are important to think of. So you might want to think of some transferable skills that you believe that you have, whether that's being a team builder or supportive or adaptable, and kind of think of those things as you think of the positions that you have held. So why are transferable skills important? Many employers believe if you are able to use a skill in one situation, you will be able to use that skill in another, even if the work appears to be unrelated. You can also highlight why you're qualified for the job. So of course, when you're looking at job descriptions, you want to say, okay, what of these skills do I have and how can I show that I am skilled in that? It's also essential for success in the competitive marketplace. For example, if you can highlight and provide an example of how you resolved a conflict within your student organization, this will show the employer that you have acquired this skill and you can use it in a future job situation. So a lot of time employers want to hear about specific situations that you have experienced and how you used your skills to solve a problem or to, delegate a conflict between two people or whatever it may be. Unfortunately, obtaining a bachelor's or graduate degree and having a high GPA are more than likely not the only factors that are going to land you the job. So employers are looking for more, and being able to articulate your experience outside of the classroom and show or talk about how you've developed transferable skills will definitely give you a leg up from others. So these are the top 8 skills employers seek that you see on the screen. This comes from the National Association of Colleges and Employers. So these qualities are critical thinking and problem solving, teamwork and collaboration, professionalism and work ethic, oral and written communication, digital technology, especially in today's virtual world, of course, leadership, career management, and global or multicultural fluency. So maybe take some time to think about, have you developed these skills with your experiences so far? And what opportunities can you seek out now that you, now to strengthen these skills and to prepare you for the future? So maybe you haven't had a lot of leadership experience. So how can you, in your time left in undergrad, find that leadership experience to gain some of those skills? And you might be utilizing these skills in your leadership positions now and you don't even know it. So really break down the things that you've done and analyze what skills each of them is using. So you can do that by doing a brainstorming activity, or some people might call it a brain dump, where you just take a piece of paper and you write down all of the activities, community service, membership, leadership roles, class projects, employment experience, etc. Everything that you have done so far, write it down, and then under each thing that you go through the task and the skills that you think that you gained from that, the responsibilities you had in each of those roles. And it will really help you kind of lay out everything that you have done and all of the experience you have gained, all of these skills you have acquired, and it will help you kind of format, your resume and kind of talk about those skills easier. So highly recommend just getting a blank piece of paper and writing down everything you can think of and adding to it as you think of more. It doesn't have to be beautiful. It doesn't have to be organized. Just kind of helps you think about all the things you've experienced so far and the skills that you have obtained from that. So moving on, we want to talk about demonstrating your skills on LinkedIn. So of course, in our world of social media, it's really important to be active on things like LinkedIn. It kind of helps employers find you, whether it's, they're related to your school or a job that you have had. So you can list your transferable skills under the skills section on your LinkedIn page, and you can request endorsements from professors, coworkers, advisors, supervisors, or maybe even classmates. And this just helps future employers to see what other people are saying about you, or if they're endorsing you and say, oh yes, they're a great coworker, oh, they're a great student. And so that helps them get a better idea of who you are and the skills that you have. All right, so how to stand out. On the screen, you do see some of the most overused buzzwords in LinkedIn profiles of 2019. So these are passionate, leadership, expert, focused, excellent, certified, specialized, strategic, creative, and experienced. So these are words that people really like to use. So maybe you want to use one of these words, but you think of something else that might be different from these, but help you stand out a little bit more. The next slide has even more buzzwords that have been used in the past few years that you can see. I won't go through all of them, but you can look like you see motivated, successful, responsible. And so these are words that employers are seeing all the time. And so maybe you, of course, can use some of these words, but maybe you think of another word that might stand out to them, and that will help catch their eye and say, oh, they're using something different. That's interesting to me. Also, the 2020 list is not out yet, but you can anticipate probably seeing adaptable and flexible on there, considering everything went virtual. So that's something you can probably expect to see in the future. All right, so I'm going to pass it over to Tracy for the rest of our presentation.
Okay, so next we will talk about resume tips. And we're not going to focus on the basics like formatting and style, although those things are important, but instead discuss some tips on content. I will say that from a formatting perspective, you want to make sure that you are utilizing your space well. Sometimes templates have a lot of columns and you might have a lot of white space or dead space that if you formatted your resume different, you might be able to fit more information on the page. So just be aware of that and make sure that your resume flows well. For when you're writing your resume, you want to, and you're applying for a job, you want to look at the job description and pull keywords and phrases to identify the attributes that that employer is looking for. And you want to emphasize only those skills that are relevant. And you may have numerous amount of skills, but you might not include all of them. Something that I recommend students to do is to have a resume document that might have everything that they've ever done in any job, internship, class project, their student organization. And when they go to apply for jobs, they can take that resume that has all that information and then look at the job description and be able to pull relevant information, skills that that employer is looking for, and you really can tailor your resume to the job description. This document might include the information from your brain dump to kind of really challenge your brain to really find those relevant experiences. Another thing you might do is have an advisor or a supervisor or maybe even a mentor or a classmate help you connect specific job description to leadership experiences. You may have a leadership experience that you aren't thinking about when you're looking at a job description, especially if maybe it's talking about supervising or managing people. You might not have that experience in the classroom, but in your position as a student organization leader, say you're a president of an organization, you definitely have experiencing managing a group and supervising others. So you might pull your experience from your student leadership position into your resume. If you're not performing the tasks highlighted in this role, you want to eliminate it because an employer might only have a few minutes to look at a bunch of resumes. So they might literally only be spending seconds reviewing your resume. And so you want to make sure it's as easy as possible for the employer to review your resume and see the skills that they are looking for that directly relate to the job. So if it has nothing to do with the job that you're applying for, you probably want to eliminate that and just make it easier for the recruiter or the manager who's reviewing applications to see that you're a good fit. So definitely discard anything that might seem like fluff or isn't a part of the key qualifications. Next, so when you have your resume, you are going to have bullet points under any jobs that you had, in internship experiences, etc. So with those bullet points, those statements about what you did in that position, you can think of this as the SOAR method. So how you actually write that bullet point out is important. So SOAR stands for statement, occurrence, amount, and result. So the statement, what did you do? You want to use an action verb to start out with. So that might be composed, instructed, arranged, managed. The Career Center website has a document that is full of action verbs. And so I recommend checking out their website and finding that list, especially if you find yourself using kind of the same words over and over. That will help you switch up your action verbs and make your resume more dynamic. So occurrence is how often did you do something? Was it daily, weekly, monthly? In your student organization, you might meet weekly as an officer or bi-weekly as an organization. So you just want to describe how often you did something. Amount. Maybe you're the treasurer. How much money were you responsible for managing, or your organization put on an event? How many people attended? What was your budget? And then the result, like what happened because of it. And so we're going to go into some more detail about this, but a little bit more information on the SOAR method is you want to, on your resume, include accomplishments. So awards that you might have received, or even participation numbers. So maybe your organization put on an event and 20 people came, and then the next year when you were in charge of this event, 100 people came, right? That's amazing. And so you can write that as a part of your resume using the SOAR method. Be specific. You want to replace vague words as assisted, responsible for, helped, contributed. Also thinking about to what Sarah talked about is like these overused words. Again, check the Career Center. You could also Google something very easily to try to come up with a word to help your resume stand out. Using numbers and quantifying. This is going to help the person reviewing your resume really understand what you did and like the scope of what you were responsible for. So if your organization is 10 people, that's very different than if your organization is 100 people, or an event you put on, the budget was, $200, say, opposed to maybe $2,000, right? The scope of that is different. So you want to include those numbers to help quantify for the employer the scope of what you were responsible for. Be content specific. So made sandwiches for customers is not very descriptive. I mean, I have an idea of like what you did, but don't make the employer assume. You want to really kind of quantify that for them and give them the scope, like I said. So another way to say this might be you built rapport quickly with over 30 customers each day and worked in a fast-paced environment that required a collaboration with colleagues. I have a much better picture of what you were responsible for and what you did in that job. And it was you doing much more than making sandwiches for customers. So don't sell yourself short. Okay, so keeping the SOAR method in mind, what are some bullet points that you could develop for your resume? So here are some examples to give you a better picture. So organized weekly meetings. So we have our action verb is organized, and we did weekly meetings, right? So that's the time for 35 members. That's our quantification. And our result is provided everyone with up-to-date information regarding upcoming events and activities. Another example might be using the SOAR method. Organized monthly events for up to 500 attendees that raised over $50,000 for children's charities. I'm hoping that you're kind of getting the idea of your bullet point statements should not be very vague. They should be very specific to really highlight for the employer what you did in that role. Okay, so you can practice this. So grab it, even if you're not ready to apply for jobs or internships quite yet, you can grab a job description from something that does interest you in the field that you're going to go into, and do that brain dump activity like Sarah talked about, and really try to brainstorm like what you might have done in that role that is transferable to the job that you're applying for. So we know that you are gaining skills not only in the classroom, but you're also gaining those outside of the classroom in your student organization. Maybe you work with others, maybe that were involved in your organization or a group project in class, and you kind of come up together to really hone in on like what you did. And then create a bullet point. Usually we do this, with a group, and so we would have people create a bullet point. But yeah, this could be really good practice for you. Okay, so what is a resume example to kind of highlight this more? So your format of your resume is going to vary based on the field that you're going into. Definitely get feedback from others. You can go to the Career Center and have a coaching session with someone from a career coach that knows what it's like to be in your field. So if you're a business major, you can go to a business career coach, and they can better give you feedback on the industry standard that your resume should follow. But you do want to consider things like formatting, underlining, bold, italics to draw attention to phrases and words, but you want that to be consistent. So in this resume, you see Leadership involvement is the heading, and it's all capitalized and underlined. So what I would expect in this resume, that every heading looks like leadership and involvement. And then we have American Association of University Women, which that's the student organization. And you can see that they have the acronym spelled out, and then they have it in parentheses, AAUW. So from then on, if they want to mention this organization, they can abbreviate it by AAUW because it's already spelled out what it is here for. So don't assume that the employer knows what AAUW is. You really should spell those things out. And so that is bold. So anytime they're listing a student organization or something that is a heading underneath the big heading, we're going to see that in bold. And then we see where that was at. That was at the University of North Texas, Denton, right? It's not bolded. And then we have their leadership position under that, and we have some italics in the time frame. So again, all of this should be consistent in your formatting. So employers are going to be skimming and reading, and there may be software that's searching for keywords. So you want to make sure that everything is easy to read from top to bottom, left to right, and that you're using the keywords and phrases that the field or the job description is looking for. And so definitely want to prioritize putting the most important things first on your resume, because the employer is going to start from the top and go to the bottom. And just make sure it's easy to read and it flows well from left to right, top to bottom, like I said. Okay, another really important aspect of your resume is to proofread. You are going to be looking at your resume over and over and over again, and you really want someone else to look at it, because a new set of eyes will find the errors that you just have become so used to looking at. So you really want to get someone, whether it's a friend or a classmate or academic advisor, your organization advisor, a mentor, a professor. So you want other eyes and multiple eyes. Don't just have one person's eyes look at your resume. This is your first impression to your employer. And so you don't want to be eliminated for a simple spelling error. So really take a look at your resume and proofread it. Grammarly is a plugin that you can get for your browser. That is a really good program that you can use to look at your grammar, especially if grammar is not your forte. It can help catch those errors. So definitely proofread everything before you submit it. Okay, moving on from resumes, let's talk about interviews. And the first step to an interview is to know yourself. Know what your strengths and weaknesses are. You definitely will be asked this in some form or fashion. Know what you're looking for in a job, right? This will help you find your fit, maybe your preferred supervisor or manager style. Is that autonomy versus oversight? Your supervisory style and how you like to supervise people. Think about the work environment that you most thrive in. Maybe the values and philosophy of the company that you're applying for are important to you. So make sure those things that they align. What are your non-negotiables? And so be realistic if this is your first job, but if you know something is a non-negotiable, if you can find that out ahead of time and do your research on the company, then that will help you know if it's a good fit. It will also help you craft questions for your employer. So when you interview, you want to be able to ask questions of the employer to also know if that is a good fit for you. So definitely don't be afraid to ask questions, because as much as you are interviewing for a job, you are also interviewing them to make sure it's a good fit. Think through specific examples, especially using keywords from the job description. You're going to be asked questions related to what was in the job description. So think of scenarios either from work or your internship, leadership experiences related to conflict management, teamwork, problem solving. You're going to be asked questions related to that. So you want to be able to know how you've reacted, but also have a specific example. Don't just say what the employer, like what you think they want to hear. If you can provide a real life example of what they're asking you about, that is going to show not only that you have that experience, but also give them an idea of how you reacted in that experience that you've been asked to describe. More likely, the first question is going to be, tell me about yourself and why you're interested in the position. Have a prepared answer. Working on an elevator pitch is going to be helpful in this scenario. You want to be able to say something about yourself very quickly and very concisely. This is going to give them a brief overview of who you are and why you want the job. Keep it brief and don't tell them your life story and everything that makes you qualified for the job. Those questions are going to come later. Once you secure the interview, do your research so you understand the job inside and out, knowing what they're looking for, and use your brain dump to think about why you're qualified and would be the best person for the job. Look at the company website, review the job description, whatever resources are available related to your field, and are there other ways to research? Maybe you know someone who works at the company, so you might ask them what it's like working there. Prepare questions specific to the position, the company, or supervisor. Again, you're trying to figure out if the position is a good fit for you. You can interview yourself in the mirror, record yourself. That might sound a little cringe or cheesy, but this is going to allow you to see how you come off. Do you talk with your hands too much? Do you fidget? Maybe you don't give enough eye contact. Maybe you give too much eye contact. Again, this will give you some insight in how you're being perceived and give you some practice. Practice in front of others. That might seem really scary, but if you have a trusted friend or partner or a mentor or something like that, practice that. Practice your canned responses about your student organization experiences or experiences with a supervisor, professor, mentor, and ask for feedback. And the other thing that you can do is schedule a mock interview with the Career Center. Okay, some more interview tips. These are very generic interview tips since there's a wide range of fields probably watching this video. So this is, in the interview, this is your opportunity to let them get to know you a little better outside the things that you mentioned in your resume and your cover letter. So this is your chance to stand out from others. Don't look around. You want to maintain eye contact. Be specific about the programs or using job specific terms. It is about responses, but also the questions that you ask. Okay, don't look at your watch and phone. Turn off your cell phone or ringer to be silent. You want to maintain excitement and wear appropriate attire for whatever job that you're applying for. You may be asked the same question over and over in an interview with different groups of people, and you want to pretend that that's the first time you've heard it and answered that. Okay, some post-interview tips. While you're in the interview, you can jot down names and maybe who they were in the interview, and that way you can maybe write them a hand thank you note or an email. Yeah, and just kind of some ideas along the way to just jog your memory, but expressing appreciation, whether or not you'd like to continue with the process, an email or handwritten thank you note can go a long way. Check name spelling, If you don't know how to spell someone's name, ask, or if they're listed on the website and their position and their email address, that might be a way to go and find that information out on your own. As always, the Career Center is a plethora of resources. And so I recommend any UNT student to check out the Career Center, not only their website, but to make a one-on-one advising appointment with a career coach. They can do career assessments, they can review your resume, do mock interviews, they give lots of workshops and presentations, career fairs, networking events, on-campus interviews, mentor and job shadowing. I can't plug them enough. You can even use the Career Center resources after you graduate and you're an alum of UNT. So definitely the Career Center is a great place to start and get help, especially if you have no one else to kind of look at your resume or give you hints or advice. They are amazing. And they are in, the Student Money Management Center is in Chestnut, although they might move. So depending on when you're viewing this video, they might have moved to a different space, but there's their contact information. But they might be able to help you once you're offered a job, like the compensation plan analysis, to really know, to hone in on your personal finances and making sure that that is going to, work for you. Take home pay estimator with taxes and things like that. Transition planning. So you're going from, a college student salary to your first full-time position, and how you can really manage your money well, as well as student loan repayment. If you have those, they can really help you do your personal budget and finances after you graduate or after you get offered your full-time position. And Career Connect, if you don't know about Career Connect, it is a service for all UNT students. You can create an e-portfolio, which is a really cool opportunity to create a visual representation of your resume, so to speak, and you could send that to employers. Again, I mentioned creating like a resume document of everything that you've ever done. You might create an e-portfolio for the same reason, or you might create a specific thing to highlight maybe a project that you worked in, or maybe you went on a alternative spring break trip or something, and you really want to highlight what you did in a visual capacity. It could be like a really cool way to highlight what you did and show an employer. And it's just on your MyUNT, so it's pretty easy to access that. And if you have any questions, comments, the Student Activities is who you want to contact. You can contact